Big news coming in from David Ornstein today on Cunha and Delap. As Manchester United fans, the one thing that frustrates us is how slow we move in the transfer market, how we have to sell to buy, and we'll miss out on this player and that player because we can't offload this player and that player. But apparently, Man United, they don't need to sell to buy Cunha and Delap. They're going to make the move and then look to sell after. Could Garnacho be one of the players sold to fund that move? That's got a big question mark around it. We'll talk about that later in the show. But United have officially, apparently, not confirmed yet, but reached an agreement with Enzo, the young striker that we've been linked with, for him to join on a free. He'd then be loaned out to Lausanne, that's owned by Nice. There's lots of news stories coming out on that and a deal being agreed. Vivel, his involvement in the deal has been revealed again. Another young gem found by Vivel. We're going to talk about Garnacho, his potential sale to fund Cunha. What is the plan? Who do we need to offload? Rashford, Anthony, and there's a lot of talk about Marcus Rashford at the moment, and I said it last night. Well, I didn't say it publicly, but I was saying it to my stepdad last night. I said, I bet now we're going to get loads of Marcus Rashford's going to stay at Man United news stories come out, because Villa losing means that Villa are less likely to get Champions League football, which then means, okay, let's write a story that Rashford's going to come back. I had a bit of a feeling about that. But anyway, let's dive into the news. Let's dive into the stories. Manchester United striker target is Liam Delap. United want to complete deals for Delap and Maest Cunha early, which suggests that sales are not needed first. That is huge news, especially because it's come out from Ornstein. It's not come out from just the generic journalist that writes a story every week about Manchester United. Ornstein is basically saying United striker target is Delap. They also like Cunha. United want to move early for Cunha and Delap, which suggests they aren't going to look to sell and then make the moves. Now, the information I got on Matheus Cunha that I discussed in my live stream the other day was, if Manchester United take their time on the Cunha deal, they could miss out. But if Manchester United act quickly, they will beat Newcastle, they will beat Forest, they will beat Arsenal, they'll beat the other interested clubs to Cunha. They lead the race for Cunha. We're Cunha's favourite option. But Cunha wants to leave Wolves. He's not going to wait for Manchester United to try and sell Anthony and Rashford and drag it into August to wait for Manchester United. He wants to leave Wolves regardless. He's got a lot of clubs interested in him. And it's one of those where United, if they want Delap, if they want Cunha, because of the amount of interest in those two players, they're going to need to make a move early. And David Ornstein is basically saying, well, it suggests that United are ready to do that and may look to sell after, which is big news, which means maybe we can expect some big developments. I still think Chelsea are favourites to land Delap, but we are favourites to land Cunha. But it's Man United. We can't get excited until we see the players lift up the shirts, because there's always an excuse, there's always a bottle, there's always a bit of a mess up when we try and bring in players. But talking of bringing in a player, apparently a deal has been agreed. Enzo Kana, Biyik, I think that's how you pronounce his name, has agreed to a deal with Manchester United. He will be loaned out to Ineos-owned Lausanne next season. That was the first story. It was then said by a very good journalist in France, Manchester United in advanced talks with Enzo and his entourage. Several sources say a deal is imminent. Basically, French sources connected us to a French player that we've been incredibly linked with the last week. That's a young 18-year-old United want to bring in. What do you need to know? This guy's 18 years of age and he runs out of contract this year, so we don't need to agree a fee or a deal with his club. All we need to do is agree a deal with him, the player, and it's now being reported that we've agreed a deal with him, the player, which then suggests that this is a done deal. Maybe it's not official, we haven't got an announcement. Do you remember how we knew Diego Leon was a done deal? Next day, Fabrizio Romano confirmed it was a done deal. We still haven't had Diego Leon announced by Man United, I don't think. But, we haven't seen him hold up the shirt. But this is apparently looks like sort of a done deal. But he will then be loaned out to Lausanne, a little bit like what Chelsea do. Solly also confirmed this. He spoke about the player earlier in the week and said he's set to join United as a free agent and will be loaned to Switzerland. Great signing by Vivel and the board. Huge shout out to the scouting department. Again, I'm not going to pretend that I know loads about this Enzo guy. I don't. I had never heard of him until a couple of weeks ago. But what I will say is, from the research that I've done, because obviously I research everything I speak about and what I've seen, and there's very little on this player out there, but he looks like a talent. He's been compared to Isaac Etike as his sort of style. He's quick, he's rapid, he can play out wide if you need, but he's more of a striker. Seems to be intelligent, good finisher, seems to be very, very highly rated as a young striker, like Diego Leon, like Zekou Kone, someone that maybe obviously not this season coming, but the season after could be in and around the squad, but they want to loan him out for experience. He's not actually had his debut yet, but he has featured on the bench. But Manchester United bringing in another young gem, you can't complain. He's not going to cost us any money. This is someone to push. We have a lack of strikers. Obviously, we need a ready-made striker, but if he has a good loan at the start, and we might loan him to Nice as another good loan, and then we might say, this could be the guy that's going to learn from, I don't know, Victor Osimhen if we bring him in, or let's say Delap is really good in 3 years' time and he's hitting his prime. Delap is 8 or 4 days younger than Højlund, though. I still think we should go for Osimhen over Delap, and I've said that many times. But a good signing from what I've heard. So let's talk about this sort of situation, because there's a lot of information sort of coming about could Garnacho go? Is he how we're going to fund the Cunha deal with, Sancho, Chelsea might not buy him, Villa, if they don't get Champions League, might not have the funds for Rashford. There's always sort of been a suggestion that Garnacho could be the one to be offloaded. Manchester United are ready to cash in on Garnacho to help finance the signing of Matheus Cunha, was said by Alex Crook and TalkSport. My stance, based off what I believe and based off information that I am aware of, would be United aren't desperate to sell Garnacho and aren't going to sell him on the cheap just to get rid of him. But if Napoli are as interested as reports say they are and are going to make a move for him again, I think 50 million, take it to 60 million add-ons, United will do it, especially if they fail to offload one of the following: Sancho, Rashford, Antony. United's priority is Sancho, Rashford, Antony, and Malacia. They're the 4 players that they want gone. They'll then look at Casemiro. They'll then look at Højlund. They'll see if Saudi come in for Onana. They'll have a look there, but who knows? And then maybe if they need those funds, Garnacho is the player that Sinner's going to bring in the funds for United. Garnacho is the player that Man United believe could bring in the funds. And he's more likely to go than Maino. I think he's improved this season, these last 5-6 games. I think Garnacho offers something very unique. And I understand selling Garnacho for the funds. There's better players than him out there. But I do think Garnacho could be a very good player. I think if he improves his end product in terms of his finishing, if you gave him Bruno Fernandes's ball striking and he improves his decision making, which a lot of players struggle with when they're young and it does develop, I do think in 4 or 5 years' time we could be looking at Garnacho saying, well, what a baller. But he's not good enough right now to rely on week in, week out. I think when he comes off the bench, he's a good player. I think he's exciting player, he's an exciting prospect. But if selling Garnacho means you have the funds to get a wing back, get a centre mid that progresses the ball, get a striker, get a 10, bring somebody else in, it's sort of something that United have to consider in that sense. David Ornstein also confirmed there are indications that Cunha wants to join Man United and favours a move for the club. When Romano and Ornstein are getting on the Cunha to Manchester United news, it's serious, something's going on. They're not saying anything's done, they're not saying anything's close to done, but they're saying pretty much United like these players, confirming that United like these players, but they're also pretty much confirming that the player likes Man United. And I think the question has always been, if we don't get Europa League, would he come? Well, reports are saying he would come to United without Europa League. Positive indication. Let's continue on. The probable 92.5 million cost of Cunha and Delap would be offset by the planned sales of Rashford, Sancho and Antony. So maybe we look to buy them and then sell the other players after, with the hope that we will sell those players. Risky game, but maybe United believe they can do that. Now, Cunha 62.5 million, that is his clause, and Delap has a 30 million clause. Now, Cunha, if we want to pay installments, maybe we have to go up to 64 million, which is a slight overpayment, but it is what it is. And Delap has a 30 million clause, but some people believe it could go up to 40 million because of the MAC clubs interested. Ipswich might try and leverage that to get more for Delap, because he's probably a 40 to 50 million pound player. But I would like to get him for 30 million. Delap 30 million is really good business, but as I've said, Osimhen still my number 1. So one of the players that's key to us getting money is Rashford, because it's pure profit. It's very key. What has been said on Rashford? Now, I knew after the Villa loss and Villa now top 4 in doubt that we were going to get a story that Rashford's going to come back, this and that. Take it with a pinch of salt. Rashford and Amram's relationship is not good. It's a bit like Jadon Sancho last year when there was rumours he could come back, but we sort of all knew he was going to go. But there has to be stories coming out that Sancho is ready to come back and work hard in case we couldn't sell him to do the PR and say the relationship's mended and whatnot. I think this is the same with Rashford. Rashford feels a return to United is still possible, believes he could still have a future at Old Trafford, committed to the club where he spent his entire career. Barcelona and other clubs are monitoring the situation, and Rashford keeping options clear. Decision to come at the end of the season is pretty much, in summary, what Sky Sports have said. Basically, Marcus Rashford would return to Manchester United if nobody went for him or we struggled to sell him, but I don't think Ruben Amorim wants that. He's probably still open to the idea of returning, but maybe not so much under Ruben Amorim. I'm aware that Marcus Rashford wants Barcelona. If Villa get in the Champions League, he would look at Villa as well. He wants Barcelona. Barcelona, they're not the richest club in the world. Rashford feels he's unlikely to play under Amorim again. He's not rushing a decision. He's ruled out a move to London. I think that's just loyalty to United. Prefers a club with Champions League football. No plan talks until mid-June, said Simon Stone, though, that Rashford's going to take a little bit of time to think. I don't know. I think he's hoping for Barcelona, but I don't think he's going to play for United again unless we really fail to sell him. Continuing on, it was said that Rashford is not expected to play for Man United again. The 27-year-old means contract at Old Trafford to 2028, but he's not part of Ruben Amorim's plans. And Ben Jacobs is correct with that information. Anyway, that is all your Manchester United news rounded up in 10 minutes. I do apologise there was no live stream, but I literally just got home off a flight and I'm knackered, but there will be lives back tomorrow. Apologise for the lack of streams. Thank you for watching. Bye.